I'm the only person in the world right now with my job. As a matter of fact, it's very exciting because a lot of the stuff that we do has never been done before.
I'm a scientist, and I'm actually a forester by training. The work that I do here has to do with mapping and describing vegetation at different scales, from global scale, continental scale, to local scales.
They work with satellites and high-tech computer systems, but the emphasis at the Earth Resources Observation Systems, better known as EROS, is the massive amount of data that come down to the center every day.
There's a good reason that we're called EROS Data Center. We conduct research to produce better data.
Many South Dakotans have seen the large U.S. Geological Survey compound in Brandon, but what exactly goes on inside the space-age data center?
We actually receive the direct downlink of data from about 5 separate satellites. The 2 primary instruments, the real workhorses of the fleet, are Landsat 5 and Landsat 7. Landsat 7 being the newest bird.
For many of us, the latest advance in photo technology is our new digital cameras. But for the folks over at EROS Data Center, their technology is out of this world.
Main engine start and liftoff of the Delta II rocket with the advanced Landsat 7 spacecraft.
EROS has over 12 million photographs and images in its archive. On average, EROS receives around 8 satellite transmissions a day. It's the job of the ground station technicians to capture and archive the data.
We're into a Landsat 7 mission support right now. What that means is we'll be collecting S-band and X-band data. S-band will be the telemetry. That's where we get our commands and control from the Mission Control Center in Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland.
3602.
X-band will be image data. Dan right now is watching the capture windows. When we bring this data down, we capture it to a disk, to a RAID. And once that data is captured, we will basically monitor that data while we're taking it down.
EROS is the nation's leader for land satellite data, and it's home to the National Satellite Land Remote Sensing Data Archive.
The original engineering design for the satellites called for a polar orbit, that is, an orbit around the North and South poles, that was synchronized with the Sun. If you want to receive directly from a satellite in an orbit like that, then you need to locate your reception center somewhere between Fargo, North Dakota and Topeka, Kansas, and in an ellipse about 60 miles wide. Sioux Falls falls directly in the center of that sort of engineering requirement.
That was back in 1966. Today, EROS operates on a $40 million annual budget and employs around 600 federal and private workers. Scientists at EROS are trying to find ways to apply the data received from the satellites.
My father was a botanist, and I was kind of influenced by him and very much interested in kind of a biogeography and interested in knowing and understanding what kind of trees grow where, that sort of question.
Dr. Zhu's interest in botany and mapping have him turning raw satellite data into maps, images, and models that can be used by agencies like the Forest Service.
This map, you can see this is I-90 going through. Green as healthy vegetation, in this case ponderosa pine forests. The dark reddish tone show fire that have passed. So now it's essentially hot ground. And
Dr. Zhu and his staff can create current maps for agencies at their request. But some of the most valuable maps are ones that were created years ago.
And this rich history can be when mapped. It's a great tool by land managers. They use this to plan and prioritize fire fields reduction, treatment. They know, for instance, they know when the fire occurred here, and in 1990 a new fire occurred there. They understand where to go next for reducing fire fields. And they also use such map atlas to assess impacts and of the fire, and also to monitor restoration of ecosystem over time.
The maps and models created by Dr. Zhu and his staff can be used by South Dakotans to monitor fire, drought, and crop growth. EROS information can help South Dakota officials plan for the future, but that's just the beginning. The information that's gathered right here in South Dakota is valuable across the globe.
What I do is I am in charge of the MODIS satellite data. MODIS is one of the instruments on the satellite Terra, and it is taking very big pictures of the entire world.
Cali archives data received from MODIS and assists others who are trying to use the information. There are many groups interested in what MODIS has to see.
The famine early warning system is a big customer, monitoring how fast things get green in any given year, or if they're getting green at all. Trying to keep tabs on where the food's going to be for people in the next years. Also looking at reforestation projects when there's been a fire or a big logging operation. I'm just monitoring how much vegetation is still around on the planet is a big deal too, especially when you're looking at rainforests. Monitoring how fast it's disappearing or reappearing has a big impact on things like oxygen. One floppy disk has 1.44 megabytes on it. Every day I put about 2 trillion of those floppy disks into the archive. That's a lot of data. It's more than anyone has ever stored before.
People interested in the images, photographs, and models created by the scientists can visit EROS online or in person. EROS welcomes visitors to the data center for a tour. Just don't forget a photo ID when you stop by the federal facility.
What can I help you with today?
We are with South Dakota Public Television.
Okay. Just need you to sign in, please. I need to see a picture ID, too.
Not only is security interested in protecting its technology, EROS also houses an office of the United Nations that examines the satellite findings. There are only 2 United Nations flags flying in the United States, one in New York and one at EROS. The entire planet has its eyes on EROS and its staff.
I like being a scientist in the space field because space is just cool. I like being able to look at the planet with a view that you don't get from an airplane. I like being able to see how the Earth fits in the context of the other planets. And I'm hoping that what I'm doing here will give us a good idea of how to look at a planet, using Earth as the example because that's one we know the best.
The images collected at EROS Data Center have recently caught the attention from people outside of the scientific world. A collection of their images is making its way into art galleries. For a look at more amazing images from EROS, visit USGS.gov.